What I'm going to talk about today is real simple stuff, kind of some of the stuff that we believe in as far as playing the wide receiver position in this offense. Going back from Dayton when Coach Morris was at Clemson, and the receivers we had there in that room with DeAndre Hopkins, Sammy Watkins, Martavis Bryant, Teron Brown, Adam Humphries, and then seeing what they got there. And then the two we had at SMU that are playing the NFL as well, man. It's a pretty special, it's a privilege to play receiver in this offense. That's what we tell our guys. And we always talk about, and you'll see it in the next few slides, man, that our offense goes, how the wide receiver group goes. So we challenge our guys. Obviously, it helps when you got some of the best players in the country, but challenge our guys, man, to take that on their backs, man, to take responsibility for setting the tone for this whole offense. So what I want to try to give you guys tonight, man, is some of the stuff that we believe in, some meeting room techniques. I know you guys probably don't get a ton of time with your kids. Believe it or not, we only get 45 to an hour with them each day as well, especially now with these new time limits, man. It's crazy how much they're trying to cut back on us. But maybe some stuff that'll help you guys in the meeting room when you're meeting with your kids. Everybody in here I was a receiver, so I can say it, and I'm ADD as hell. So, I mean, you got to, every 15 minutes, man, you got to stand them up. You got to do something, because after 15 minutes, man, they start tuning you out. So I'll try to give you some stuff in the meeting room. Some stuff that'll help you as far as organization-wise, practice plan, all that stuff, and then kind of give you some meat and potatoes with some drill work. I'll go through some of my top drills. I got a ton of tape, man, so I can go as long as y'all need me to go, and I can get this stuff to you guys. As long as you guys shoot me your email, we can email it to you now, so it's pretty good. But again, man, I appreciate the opportunity to be here and coach in front of you guys. If I'm going, man, if you guys got questions, just feel free to stop me. I'm high-strung, man, so I'll start talking fast, so y'all just slow me down if I need to slow down. But I don't know if you guys can see this, man. This is some of the stuff that Coach Morris is real big on us having a mission statement, some stuff that we believe in. He's an old Texas high school football coach and taught math class for 16 years. So he's big on, you had those, and I taught school for a year. So you had the objective of the day and kind of what you learned and stuff like that. It's some of the big things we fill out. They look like lesson plans, but we fill out for every meeting. We fill out kind of what we're going over, something that doesn't have anything to do with football that we're going to go over with our guys, just so Coach sees every single day kind of what our plan is as far as reaching our kids and coaching our kids. Our mission, man, you play receiver in this offense, is we want to establish dominance in everything we do, man. It don't matter if it's freaking meetings. It don't matter if it's a walkthrough. It don't matter whatever it is, man. We're gonna try to establish dominance in everything we do. And we'd say all the time, this team, all right, the Arkansas Razorbacks offense is going to go how the receiver group goes. You look back to, especially when we were at Clemson, even at SMU, not so much this year, we struggled at our position, but you look back at SMU, we were there, and the Cortland Sutton kid that got drafted in the second round, and we couldn't get anything going on the first drive, maybe didn't do great on the second drive, but as soon as he caught a big ball and popped one, man, it sparks the whole offense, man, and that's what kind of gets our offense going. So we try to establish dominance in everything we do, man. It don't matter what the circumstance is. 3rd and 17, good, man. It's our down. That's where we make our money. Wide receiver code, I don't know if you guys can see this. The first one, man, if you come to any of our practices, is protect the football. I mean, everybody talks about that. We talk constantly and have an accountability circuit as far as taking care of the football, man. It's not just lip service. It's something we do. One of the things that I love that we do is everybody speaks the same language. For us at our program, it's high and tight. Some might be fixed elbow, tucking underneath the chin, whatever the case may be. We speak high and tight. I love it because you can go around the whole, our managers can scream high and tight. That's what Coach Morris says. Hey, everybody, quality controls, analysts, you guys can't necessarily coach and give instruction, but you can scream high and tight. The freaking managers and the trainer girl, she can scream high and tight as well if she sees that ball get out there. What we call a BIJ, and I'll show you kind of how we chart it here in a little bit, but we call a BIJ as a ball in jeopardy. So as you're watching film, anytime you see space between your body and the ball, so if a kid gets out there, he's making a cut, and the ball gets out here, we chart the BIJs. After every practice, what we do is we do an accountability circle. And so if it's me, if I had 2 BIJs and I get in the middle of the circle, I say, hey, my name is Justin Stepp. I had 2 BIJs. And then everybody does 2 up downs. So we get about the second fall practice when they've been out there for 2.5 hours, they'll start paying a little bit more attention to holding that ball high and tight. And them linemen will damn sure they're paying attention to holding that ball high and tight so they're not doing 80 up downs. We want to play explosive and fast, all right? Must be mentally and physically tough. Something that we always talk about is competing through adversity. win the battles of preparation, and especially just like you guys do, man. You try to spend a lot of time watching film with these guys. We tell our kids all the time, man, everybody's got the same amount of hours. Everybody's got 20 hours a week. Everybody in the country is going to do what's mandated of them as far as their program goes. What are you doing outside of that time we make you be over here that's separating yourself from everybody else? Whether it's quarterbacks leading a wide receiver or skill position meeting, Friday mornings, our quarterbacks do a great job of taking the receivers in there and making sure everybody's on the same page and watching film. Without me and Coach Craddock, our offensive coordinator, they do a good job of going in there and making sure everybody's on the same page. Dominate the line of scrimmage. All right, the release versus press, I think is critical, especially at our level with 6'2" corners that can tie their shoes standing straight up. We give these guys a toolbox. I don't teach 15 different releases. I teach about 3 and then a couple other things as far as a redirect. And I just want these guys to have a toolbox, man, that whenever they start getting press coverage, that they feel comfortable enough with one of the 5 or one of the 3 things that we teach, that they feel good enough that they can get off of the press coverage. And then finish. One of the things that I love that Coach Morris does is when we're in a team, I don't know if you guys, we call it team install periods, whenever you're installing whatever your game plan is for the week. If it's a run play for run periods, there's a cone 20 yards back, so our running backs are finishing through the cone. Another thing, man, that you guys can do as far as the finish, and people come and watch us play and they think it's nuts, is we have the managers dressed up in referee jerseys, and one of them has like a checkered flag from like NASCAR, and he trails the play. And as he's trailing the play, if you stop before the flag goes up, that's how we chart loafs. So that's one thing that we do. Now, if it's a pass play, if we get into an intermediate pass game or a quick game period, where if we're on the 30-yard line, we'll set the cone at the 50 just in case we catch a 10-yard ball, we can get a 10-yard burst. If it's a shot period, we don't have the cone back there, obviously because it's a deep shot period. But having cones back there, man, especially for our guys, especially for receivers, it gives them a visual to where they got to finish through. And so that's one of the things we talk about is a finish after the catch. Our routes on air. We have cones set no matter, my grad assistant or my manager does a good job of running on a curl route. Our curls are 14 yards deep. Then so wherever the line of scrimmage is, we got a 14-yard curl. Our cone is 25 yards away from the football, so they know that they got to catch it and drop step and get a burst. Just talking about those things, man, all those things right there in our wide receiver code, they don't take any talent, man. They just take a desire and an attitude, man. If we tell our guys, if we got a coach effort, then we're recruiting the wrong guys. Obviously, I know at the high school level, you kind of got what you got, but coaching the finish and stressing that to those guys. Wide receiver skills, we talk about a relentless pursuit of excellence in our room, a release, we talk about winning the first 5 yards of the route. There's a lot of routes that we run on our offense that you can spray release, where I'm kind of widening out on it, where you can lose reinforced release, where I'm kind of pressing in, and then a straight stem. So that's kind of how we do it. We do spray, a reinforce, and a straight stem route. So just kind of having a plan, man, knowing where I got to be on the field, knowing exactly what time, when I got to be there, how deep I got to be, my spacing on the field. We talk about winning the first 5 yards of the route. I think it has a lot to do with that as far as these guys understanding where they have to be and why they have to be there. One of the things that we did a really good job of when I was at Appalachian State with Coach Satterfield was we termed the field. So however you got to term it. So we call from the obviously the sideline and the bottom of the numbers there. We call the middle of that, we call it the lane. Then obviously you have the top and the bottom of the numbers. Between the numbers and the hash, we call the midpoint. So I can look out there at those kids and say, hey, I need you at the midpoint. And they can figure out where they're at and get lined up, as opposed to being, hey, you're 4 yards from the tackle. Well, I went to Furman. Hell, I wasn't smart enough to go there, but I went to Furman. I'd still have to sit here and do 4 yards. I'm about right here. Whereas if you're saying midpoint, plus or minus from the hash, plus or minus from the top of the numbers, I think that's one thing that helped us. I didn't put that in here, but I can put it on the, I don't have a erase board in there. I can draw it up on a piece of paper afterwards if somebody has that. But I think that it helps my receivers understand. They know every single one of my receivers. If they're on the outside, they know when they run curl routes in our offense, you better catch the ball at the midpoint between the top of the numbers and the hash. They know no matter, come hell to high water, I can line up 2 yards from the hash and spray release it. I can line up outside the numbers and reinforce it, or I can line up at the midpoint and straight stem it. But when I catch that ball, I should be 4 yards from the hash, or what we call the midpoint. So I think that's something that's really helped our receivers. But we talk about transition separation and route influence, the ability to get open. And I think that goes back to watching film and studying what your guy's doing. One of the things my GA does is he makes a 20-play cut-up of the good, the bad, and the ugly for every single one of the DBs that plays in the secondary when we're going against them. And I think that helps our guys kind of watch a little bit of tape and understand what these guys are trying to protect, kind of some of the tendencies they have. And we talk all the time. Our offensive coordinator was a quarterback, so obviously we talk about being in a quarterback-friendly position to make an uncontested catch. All right. Obviously, in our league, we ain't too many uncontested catches. So we got to be able to win 50-50 balls, man. But we're trying to get ourselves in a position to where it's an easy throw and catch, easy pitch and catch. Timing and spacing. I think this is something that a lot of receivers struggle with. We tell our guys all the time, man, just be where you're supposed to be on the field when you're supposed to be there. All right, there's a rhyme and a reason to why you have to, on the backside of our post corner with a flat, we don't run a true curl. We run an inside 9, and you got to break it off at 16 yards if you can't beat him. Well, those guys will always go 12 yards, and they're sitting there at 12 yards, and that quarterback ain't made his full progression back over here to the field, and they're wondering why the guy's on their back, and he's pissed at the quarterback because the ball's late. No, you didn't get your depth. So understanding where you got to be. Timing is relative to the QB. All right, and spacing is relative to the other receivers. I think that also goes back to determine the field for those guys, man. Those guys know if we're in 3-by-1 and we're running curl flat, then the number 3 receiver has the middle of the field hang, the physical middle of the field. You ain't got to be over the ball. You ain't got to be over the guard. We call it the physical middle of the field, man, just so those guys can understand exactly where they're supposed to be. Hands and catch, something that should be natural to these kids, but some of them, man, it takes a lot of work. It's tracking the ball and finishing the catch. One of the things that we do for that, it sounds really simple. I got it from Coach Sweeney when I was with him at Clemson, is we call out what we see on the football. So as we catch the ball, whether we're doing a warm-up drill or whatever the case may be, as I catch the ball and I tuck it, I'm going to call out what I see on the top of the football. If I see the laces, I call out laces. If I see the Nike check, I say Nike. If I don't see anything, I just call out blank. That way you know those guys are catching it and finishing it to the tuck. Another thing that we do is I got it from Coach Dooley when I was watching him coach for the Cowboys, is as they were on the jugs machine catching balls like this, he would take a towel and he'd wrap it around that guy's inside arm or the back arm, whichever one you wanted to do. And then as the ball's coming, he's pulling that towel on that guy's arm, man, just making sure that he's working on finishing those last little details on getting to the football, man. So that's something that helped us as well. And then contested catches, off-target throws, and then 50-50 balls, man. We talk all the time. Our job as coaches, man, is to get you in a one-on-one situation. Once we get you in a one-on-one situation, hopefully we recruit the right guys, and you guys can go make a play, man, and catch 50-50 footballs. Obviously, we do one-on-ones that help with that. Another one of the drills we do with Ryan Cooper is our corners coach and does a really good job. He's coached a lot of really, really good DBs. Is we'll do a sideline drill, or not necessarily a sideline drill, it's a deep ball drill. The quarterback's 10 to 15 yards away, however far you want them. And the DB's on the inside of us, all right, and he's giving resistance to us, and we're working on squeezing. And as soon as the ball comes, then we fade and we catch it. He's not trying to knock it down. He's just trying to give us that feel of applying pressure, working on us, trying to stack this guy, trying to squeeze and save room, and then fading at the last minute. So we'll do it where we're the primary target one time, and then the next time down, we'll do it where we're running on the outside. He's on the inside of us again, but now it's his turn to go up and make a play on the ball. That way we're not doing the drill and both guys are going up and somebody gets tangled up and stuff like that. That way it helps the receivers work on stacking a guy, squeezing a guy, and then fading at the last second, and it also helps that corner get used to applying pressure and then turning and finding the ball. So that's one thing that really helped us with our 50-50 balls. This is a question I get a lot, man. When I played, you could come back and cut towards the football, man, and that's about all I did was block. But, man, the game's kind of changed a little bit. You can't cut down the field at receiver unless you're in a 5-yard box. But, man, we want to recognize and embrace the impact the run game has on winning and it has on coverage. I tell my guys all the time there should be no difference in a run and a pass. That's one thing we chart every single day in practice is when we get into our run periods or we get into our overs, deep periods, how many times can we tell where we're running the football or throwing the football? A lot of times receivers don't understand, and when they're running the football, they get in a stance like this, a halfway stance, and the ball snapped, and they're false stepping and have no burst off the ball, and then when the freaking ball we're about to throw the ball, everybody's down in a freaking good stance and wants the rock. So one of the things we say all the time, Coach Morris says it all the time in run periods, is block for the rock. You want the rock, but you got to block for it first. So that's one thing we do, man, especially in our offense. We get the ball out so many times on the edge, whether it's bubble screens, little juice screens, whatever the case may be, tunnel screens, is, man, we got to do a great job on the edge of blocking and making sure we get our guys blocked. And then obviously do your job, no excuses. That's one thing we talk about to our guys, man. Whatever we ask you to do, do it. Be a technique guy. Coach talks about all the time, man, is master your craft, work your craft, beat your craft, whatever the case may be. Just be a technique guy at a detailed position, man. People don't realize how detailed the wide receiver position is. They just see a guy run down the field and score, man. They don't realize how many details actually go into that play. One of our signs that we have in our team room, this is the last thing you see when you walk out of the door, is don't whine, don't complain, don't make excuses. Just don't. And what I love about it, man, we had a senior in there this year, and we get into a meeting and somebody try to make, all you got to say is don't. You know, and when the players start taking ownership of it, man, it makes a difference. One of the things that Coach Morris, again, going back to him being a teacher, is he's always on us on the what, the how, and the why. Like, what are we teaching? The assignment. So as I'm watching the film, all right, the smash concept, that the guy runs our corner routes and our bender routes on four verts are always made at 12 yards deep. So if a kid goes 10 yards deep, then obviously he has a missed assignment on his grade because he didn't go the proper depth. The how, like the technique. So if I got a 90-degree cut or an edge cut, if I got a speed cut, or if I'm supposed to reinforce release off this route or spray release off this route, then that goes to the technique. So if a kid runs a corner route and he gets 12 yards deep, but he gets redirected for the first 7 yards of the route because he didn't take the right release, then we're coaching him up on the technique. So his assignment might be good, all right, but his technique is something that we have to work on. And then the why, the who are we attacking, the curl concept. I just put that on there, man. It's curl flat. Everybody in the country runs it. There's a lot of times those guys running those flat routes just kind of get out there and pitter-patter around, and they're just kind of standing there in the flats. We'll pull that guy out, man, have some speed and width to the sideline to affect that low hole player, man, so we can throw the curl in behind it. So that's one thing Coach Morris is really big on us about, man, is the what, the how, and the why. I'll kind of take this and kind of go into some meeting room ideas, some of the things that I do. What I try to do when we have meetings, obviously we're blessed to have a pretty nice meeting room, and they sit 2 by 2. So in our positions, it's the 2-man, the 5-man, and the 9-man. So my 2 men are kind of all together in that one section, but I don't have 2 freshmen sitting right beside each other, because if I start going fast and we get into installs in the season, man, it's like a 2-minute drill. What I try to do is I try to have an older guy sitting beside a younger guy. So as I'm talking, if I'm going too fast, man, these guys can kind of try to help each other out. I sit them by position. I don't need a 9-man sitting with a 5-man because they run completely different routes in our system. But, you know, that's one thing I did with my guys is kind of put where they sit. The VAC test, I know all y'all probably know this, the learning style test, the visual, the auditory, or kinesthetic. We did this year. When I was at SMU now, I had about 4 guys. That were visual learners, man. They were sharp. When I got to Arkansas, man, every single one of my guys are kinesthetic learners. I'm a kinesthetic learner, so I got to get up, I got to do it. So I think that Coach Morris says it all the time, man, learn your learners. So figure out how these guys learn. So if these guys are all kinesthetic learners, then me sitting up here drawing and doing all this stuff on the board, after about 10 minutes ain't helping these kids. So what do we need to do to get these guys to learn what we're trying to do and trying to get across to them? So what we do is we do walkthroughs. So I'll have just like my GA puts a good, bad, and ugly for the secondary that we're playing against, we do a good, bad, and ugly for every single practice. And we're out there 20 minutes before every single one of the guys for any other position comes out there. And you got to give wideouts a little bit of time. All right, they'll be the last ones out. So what we do is we do our last 20 minutes of our meeting on the field. So my guys come to the meeting dressed, unless you have a class, obviously then we can work around that. But they come to the meeting dressed, their pads and all that stuff are in there. We transition literally from the meeting room straight to the indoor, and we do a walkthrough. So whatever the case may be, man, if it's I'll take the plays in the run period, the shot period, the intermediate pass, quick game, I'll put them in a cut up. We'll watch those, but then the other things that we need to correct, we do it in a walkthrough. I love the fact that Coach Morris gives us the freedom to do that. He's not walking through the building, you know, making you sit in your meeting room for an hour and a half. If your guys learn best by doing walkthroughs, then go do walkthroughs. I love the fact that the quarterbacks come out there with us a lot too. because I think it's good for the receivers to hear the quarterbacks getting coached up and listening to what Coach Craddock's telling those guys, and it helps my guys kind of figure out why they need to be where they need to be. Personal whiteboards, man, these things are freaking awesome. I don't know if y'all have these. You can buy them for 30 cents at Walmart, and every single one of my guys have one, and it sits right in front of them. So as we're installing, so the first day of spring ball this year, we'll see the install picture of the play or the route, whatever the case may be. It'll go through all the rules. We'll watch a couple cut-ups of every single of that play out of each formation. All right, and then we hit blank on that screen, and we have a contest to see who can draw it out of as many different formations. Whatever I call out, I'll call out the most random formation. And you'd be surprised, man, how competitive these guys get with being up. First off, some of them can't draw. All right, they don't know how to draw the lines, and the O-lineman is awful. And then getting them to put the hashes on there, because a lot of kids just draw 5 big circles, and it looks like a second grader did it. But getting them to draw the hashes, man, and understand spacing, it really helped my guys. And they take a lot of, what I love is that some of them will watch those guys draw it up on Gruden camp and be like, Coach, man, that guy draws pretty good. I draw just as good as he does, you know. The Cortland Sutton kid, when he was at the combine last year, when he left the combine, it wasn't, hey, Coach, man, I appreciate you teaching me the transitions and the routes and all this stuff, man. It really helped me. He Coach, I'm so glad you made us draw. Like, so glad you made us draw, because I got wore out on it, and I actually felt comfortable up there doing it. And I like it because my guys are really competitive and take a lot of pride in it. We have a candy bar, or whatever the case is, whatever you want the guys to have. My guys love Sour Patch Kids, so whoever wins, whoever gets the draw first gets Sour Patch Kids. Just something to keep it different for them, man. Coach Morris doesn't want it to be monotonous. Doesn't want it to where these guys just kind of tune you out. Callbacks, Brian Kane. I don't know if any of you guys are aware of Brian Kane. Does a really good job with our guys, man, of making them stand up. So if I'm talking to Cortland and I say, hey, Cortland, you got an inside 9 on Washington, right? He goes, yes, sir. I said, all right, well, stand up and talk me through what you're thinking. Pre-flight, what you're looking at, and then talk me through your route if the corner's off. Talk me through your route if the corner's pressed. So he's not just sitting there. Well, if the corner's pressed, I'm going to do this. Well, he's got to get up. He's got to get in his stance. I said, all right, the corner's got inside leverage of you. Talk through what are you going to try to do off the line. That way, he's up, he's moving, and it keeps everybody engaged. Walkthroughs, we talked about that. Practice sheets is something I'll talk about here in a minute. Point system and the drive tracker. I'll show you all those things here in a second. Grade sheets, this is kind of what our guys get on a Sunday, and you'll be amazed. We have the stats. When you walk in the room, we have the stats from the game right here. I'll show you that sheet in a second. And then on everybody's desk is a grade sheet. They walk right past that stat sheet, and they go look at their grades. They all want to know where their missed assignments came from and where their technique were. This is an example of a grade sheet from SMU. This is the Sutton kid that's playing for the Broncos. Played 74 plays. Way too many plays in this offense. 74 plays over here too, but when they're, we're a little bit limited as far as guys at SMU, so those guys tended to have to play a little bit too much. But you could tell the longer he played, the worse his technique got. That's why his grades always suffered. I had so many NFL scouts would come in and be like, Coach, his grades weren't awesome. I said, yeah, my man was playing 195, 98% of the snaps too. Here you could tell he played all but one. But so we get an assignment grade, all right, you get a technique grade, and obviously your total grade. We keep up with catches, missed assignments, loafs, BIJs, drops, knockdowns, penalties, big plays. For us in the receiver room, a big play is a big third down catch. If it's 3rd and 3 and you catch it, big play. Third down catch right here, touchdowns, and then win on one-on-one battles. So that's a grade sheet. I think that's something physical that these guys get in front of them that they can see, that they can look at. I love that we do post-practice. Our practice sheet for each receiver, so this is just kind of an example of one right here. Each receiver has a catch, a drop, BIJs, and MAs. We do catches, we do all these, and BIJs get counted the whole practice. Routes on air, it don't matter. BIJs are counted the whole practice. Receptions, drops, and MAs are counted in any period versus the defense, whether it's one-on-ones versus the DBs, whether it's Skelly, whatever the case may be. Those things get caught, those things get tatted up every single day. And again, these guys take an extreme amount of pride. When the first few days of practice, everybody wants to know how many catches they have. We start getting deep into the men's stalls, everybody starts looking at the MAs. When you got 18 MAs sitting up there and your teammates are walking by and you feel like an idiot because you don't know what you're doing. So it kind of helps keep those guys accountable to make sure they're studying. This is an example of a practice sheet. I don't know how you guys grade your practice, if you even get a chance to watch practice with your guys. But one of the things that I love to do is give my guys feedback. And so as I'm watching the film, I type my notes in here. So each kid's got a color code. Now there's 14 of them, then some of them I'll highlight, and then they know how to look for their stuff. But because it's impossible to watch this whole practice with these guys, man. There's just too much stuff. So what I like to do is have the notes typed in there. I'll make a cut up for them, but then when, when James Prochet goes home and we didn't get to the fourth play of scale, he can, as he's watching it on his iPad, he can see, okay, James, you're supposed to reinforce release right there, instead of watching it and being like, okay, well, I don't know what I was supposed to do right there. That way you can at least give these guys some feedback, specific feedback for them as they go home in case you don't get through all of it. I think it helps keep me organized as well, man. I can kind of go through and see what I need to cover. And these guys, the guys love it, man. We had a couple days this year where your printer broke or we didn't have enough time to print it out, and the guys are just sitting there in the meetings and they're like, hey, because some of them like to take notes and highlight stuff, and I think that really helps our guys. And then I love this. We do this for every game. We call it a drive tracker. And so it'll have the cover sheet, Arkansas versus Toledo, whatever the case may be, on the front. And then it has every drive in there. It has the down and distance, the hash, the yard lines. It has the gain. But the thing I love that we do is we tally it up. So 6 plays, 77 yards, and a touchdown. All right. Whereas if it was a bad drive, you could say it was 3 plays, minus 3 yards and a punt. Well, why was it 3 plays and minus 3 yards? Well, the first down, we had negative 3 yards, and then we tried to throw it 2 times and couldn't get it first. That way, especially for my guys, man, for receivers, it helps them kind of say, okay, well, it kind of gets the holistic thing in here with the whole offense instead of just kind of watching their job. So we give these guys a drive tracker. Their notes, again, are typed up in their color as we go through the game. So in case we don't get through the whole game, sometimes they can go back and they can watch and see what they messed up. Kind of a point system. We keep tally of this all year. Each week, on Thursday nights is date night for my wife and whoever has the most points. So she's pretty cool about letting them tag along. Sometimes they got stuff to do, they can't make it, we'll get it the next week. But each week, the top point guy comes to the house on Thursday nights and gets to hang out and gets obviously free food and all that. At the end of the year, we put together a pretty cool little deal as far as the snag crew thing that we have going now, as far as some gear and stuff like that. So these guys do a good job of competing and trying to make sure they have the most points at the end of the year. So that's kind of some meeting room stuff. I put some top drills on here. Just ask coach, hey man, if you had, because every receiver coach in here's got the same problems, man. You probably ain't got but 5 minutes to Indy, 10 if you're lucky. And so trying to make sure you get as many drills as you possibly can into one. All right. At our place, we're going to throw routes on air. We're going to at least have 10 minutes of routes on air with the receivers. One thing that we've adopted is if we have 10 minutes of routes on air with the receivers, then the 5s and the 2s, which are mainly our field receivers. If you got a field side and a boundary side, which we do, we can move everybody around, but for the most part, you got a boundary receiver, which is our bigger kids, and then you have field kids. I'll send the receivers, the 5s and the 2s, I'll send them with the offensive coordinator, and I'll keep the boundary guys with me, and I'll do Indy. And they'll run nothing but routes, throwing with the quarterbacks for 5 minutes, and then after 5 minutes, we switch. That way I'm not trying to speed 15 receivers through 5 minutes an individual, and nobody's getting any better, right? So trying to figure out different ways to do that. If it's something where we need all 3 receivers at one time, then we'll try to combine a release. If it's a heavy run install day, we'll do some blocking drills. If it's a heavy break point day, then we'll do some break point drills. But every drill we try to do, we want to incorporate some type of release, whether it's just a dummy standing there, whether it's the GA or the manager there with the crayons, but trying to get some kind of release. So I got a bunch of drills on here, man. We can kind of go through as many as we can get through in the allotted time here. One of the things, again, back to organization, because Coach Morris is real big. Coach Morris goes through, one of his favorite things to do is go through and watch your Indy. So you can't just go out there and be a slappy and do whatever you want to do and not have a plan. He's real big on Indy. So what you got to do is you got to chart. This is, obviously we got a lot more than this. This was all that would fit on the page. We break it down into catching, ball drills, whatever you want to call it. Catching, releases, break points, ball security, and blocking. So what he doesn't want to see is me sitting over here doing the same blocking drill 2 days in a row when I hadn't worked any of this other stuff. The reason why we like this is y'all see what we have here, skills and drills 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because we can't be out there with our kids doing skills and drills with a ball during the summer. So my leadership council in my room runs these drills. So what they're supposed to do is they're supposed to check off what drills they do each day, so now they know that it's something different every day. It's not monotonous. Sometimes you might need to go back to a drill that you've done last week. But again, just having a plan, man, and that just keeps you organized, man. It just makes sure that you're on point and you're keeping it fresh for your kids. We talk about stance. I think everything starts at the line of scrimmage. For us, our inside foot, everybody always asks me, Coach, is it inside foot back, inside foot up? For us, it's inside foot up. What we found is if the ball was in here and my inside foot's up, then I got a tendency to kind of keep my shoulders a little bit more square to the line of scrimmage. I'm a little bit more balanced. Whereas when we were at Clemson, some of these guys would get their inside foot back and then looking towards the ball, and they had a tendency to turn their shoulders a little bit. And so the first thing that was happening was they were getting squared back up to the line of scrimmage. So for us, our inside foot's up. I'll kind of try to speed through this so we can get through as many drills as we can. We want feet staggered, all right? We talk about having a good stagger, good comfortable stance. I tell my guys, man, you should be able to get in your stance and watch TV all night. You should not be able to fall off. If somebody came and pushed me, I'm not leaning side to side. But again, finding something that these guys can get comfortable with. Somewhere along the line, everybody decided that turning your toes sideways was really cool, which is great if you're really fast, but if you're slow like me, then the first thing that happens when the ball is snapped is your foot's pointed straight ahead. So we want to try to get 90% of our weight on the ball of our front foot. Well, to get that, what we talk about is we want to drive that front knee over that toe. All right, if my knee is over that toe, there's no way physically possible that toe is going to pick up, right? So we want to have our knee over our toe. I want to have a good bend in my back knee. All right? I don't want to have my back knee locked straight just like this, because again, the ball snap, first thing it's going to do is it's going to pop down. We talk about just like track, man, just like, especially if you got track kids that play receiver, that back leg is going to be where you get all your power. We talk the key coaching points or the verbiage that we use as far as coming off the football is we want to drive off our back foot and roll off our front foot. So if you're looking for key terms, man, drive off your back foot, roll off your front foot. We teach our guys if I get pressed, then I obviously don't want to have the same stagger in my stance. If I get pressed, I want to kind of shorten that stagger, and I want to widen my base so now I can come to balance just a little bit quicker, right? I don't want to have my foot so far back that it's taking too long to get myself back balanced and be ready to compete hand to hand. Again, body, man, I want to have my shoulders pointed square to the line of scrimmage. I don't make my guys keep their arms up if they're not pressed. If they're not pressed, whatever's comfortable with them. Some of them like to, move their hands a little bit. I could care less, man. Just get your tail where you're supposed to be. If you're pressed, make sure you have your hands up. Again, driving off the back foot, roll off the front foot, some of the things that we use. This is Dion, all right, older guy for us. We talk about driving that knee over that toe. I'll just kind of speed through this. That knee could probably be a little bit further over that toe right there. All right, I like a little bit more knee bend in the back knee. All right, but everything, you guys can see me right here. One of the things I need to do a better job of as a coach is every drill we do is trying to get these guys used to going on the ball. So we can go on 6, we can go on 4. And no matter what the snap count is, we're going on sight, not sound. So that's something that's really key for receivers. The more you can do ball drills or move a ball as you're doing a drill, sometimes it's hard because you don't have much help. But this is just a basic stance drill right here, man. We do stance and starts for pre-practice every day. I don't take my Andy time to do stance and starts, man. We're just driving off the football. There's another kid right here. I like where his knee is right there. Drive off your back foot, roll off your front foot. See what the next guy looks like here. Here's Mike. So this is a freshman right here, okay? You can see where Mike, it's not an awful false step, but the first step needs to be down the field with that back foot. That knee could be over that toe a little bit more, and that way we keep that front foot from popping up. So that's one of the things we teach as far as our stance. Man, if somebody said, Coach, what's the first thing you teach? Well, obviously I teach a stance and a start, and then the next thing I teach, I got it from Scotty Montgomery. He used to be the head coach at East Carolina. When he was at Duke and I was at App State, I went down and listened to Scotty talk to his coach's receivers. And it's hard to get a guy, if I'm running a corner route, the ball's in here and I'm running a corner route, and I got a guy on me right here, it's hard to get a lot of guys that can give you the boom, boom, and then get into a route, right? Well, it's hard for us to find those guys too. So what Scotty told us, what Scotty was teaching his guys was what he called a stripe it drill. And so everybody's got the stripe on their helmet, right? And so if I'm running a corner route and I'm going over here to the right, then I want to stripe it. When I get to the top, I want the stripe of my helmet to go opposite of where I want to go. And so a lot of guys, when they get to the top of it, man, they give you that. All right, well, that ain't moving nobody's eyes, right? If my eyes go that way, if I get here, man, and my eyes go here, then that cornerback's going to bite, or that safety's going to bite. So what we call it is a stripe the helmet drill. We love doing it because you get a lot of press in our league, and so we do it more of when this guy's on my back hip. So if this guy's chasing me, he's in chase technique right here, and my eyes go here, I promise you, that guy's freaking. We listen to Coach Cooper coach them corners. As soon as wherever his eyes go, go. And so that's why we do teach what we call a striper drill. If I'm running a bang 8, if the ball's in here, all right, and I get an inside release on this guy, and I got a bang 8 corner, when I get to the top of it, man, I'm leaning with my eyes, and I'm banging off. Bang 8s, corners, you can use it in the top part of digs. Balls in here, I get to the top part of this dig, man, I get to the top, I'm striping my helmet, and I'm coming out of my route. So, and it's just, you'd be amazed how many guys can't count 3 steps. Well, we go every 3rd step, all right? And you can start out walking it at first. All right, so it's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And so you can start it out in a walk. As you do it, you can build up tempo. And again, all you're looking for, you ain't looking for that, right? Remember guys are trying to break their necks doing that, man. All I'm looking for is give me some eyes, man. Give me your eyes opposite of where you want to go. So you can stay behind them. You can stay in front of them. I like getting behind my guys the majority of the time, man, so they can kind of get that feel of having that guy in his hip. It's a really good job by J-Red. I wish I had a field angle of this so you guys can see it, man, but that's all every 3rd step. Every 3rd step. First off, be able to run a straight line, right? You ain't got to look down. Be able to just stay on the line, man. It's just natural. Working on striping your helmet at the top. All right, stripe it. Stripe it. Every 3rd step. Work on losing that guy at the top of that route. You'd be surprised how much this helped. And my guys love it. Every time somebody on NFL on Sundays does it, hey, Coach, that guy striped the hell out of his helmet. No doubt, man, it works. I told Coach Montgomery, man, I said, Scott, that's the best thing I ever got, man. You could teach 100 more meetings, and this would be the best thing I ever, man, this thing, I love this drill. I love this teaching point at the top part of the route. You see right there, Gerard, a young kid, is still giving the old head nod right there. Let's take eyes with it, man. Let's take our eyes opposite of where we want to go. It's a good job right there. Again, work every 3rd step. Stripe your helmet. Top part of a corner, top part of a dig, top part of a bang 8, man. Whenever you got a guy chasing in your hip or you got a guy sitting on your route right at the top, and give me eyes. That's what we talk about at the top of our route, man. Give me your eyes, stripe your helmet. Coach Morris loves it too, man. I just want to thank Coach Morris. This is Coach Morris's baby now. Kind of get into watching a couple clips of this, man. J-Red does a good job on the space release, but right here, all right, if he does better, he gets open, but he needs to do a better job of striping his helmet right here at the top of this route. You'll see it from right here on this one right here with Tyson. Good job on the 2nd level. Look at his eyes. Let's stripe of that helmet. You'll see it better from this copy right here. Stripe of his helmet's opposite of where he wants to go. Look at that right there. Look at his eyes, and you look where 21's going. Again, doing a good job, man, and leaning on that guy, creates some separation. Understand influence, man. Understand how your eyes can help you in your route. We talk about it all the time. Hands, eyes, and feet, all that stuff, man, it always helps you get open. This is my 2nd favorite drill. If I had to teach one drill every day, I'd start out with the striper drill. And again, if you want to do the striper drill, but you need to get a release as they come off the ball, and now get into where you're doing the stripe at every 3 steps. Distraction and contact. I got this from Coach Sweeney, man. Coach Sweeney's real big on these guys having a distraction, and whether it's a guy standing here with his hands up or a dummy, we use dummies, and then a contact in every single one of your drills. Coach Morris is really big on that as well. I don't know if you guys have these, man. At Arkansas, they had them. They already had them already, which was nice, and these are like real deal. I made these out of PVC pipes at App State. Man, I love these chutes. They're a little bit over 4.5 feet tall. If you got real tall kids, it's a little bit almost unrealistic, but it helps them work on sinking their hips and transitioning through the top part of their routes. And you can see these things maybe 1.5 yards wide. All right, but I freaking love these chutes, man. You can use them for releases, coming off the ball. You can use them for the top part of your route and transitioning. You can make this drill as big as you want to do it. If you play in the offense, guys, where you throw it a lot, and these guys do a lot of running, man, I think it's really important. We have the catapult, so we obviously know how far our kids run. The first practice we had at SMU, not at Arkansas, but the first practice we had at SMU, Cortland Sutton ran over 8,000 yards. And so Coach Morris said, Steph, you're killing this kid down there doing freaking 20-yard drills. And the kid's, he's already running 8,000 yards, man, and probably 6 of them are in your individual. So shorten your drills up. That's one of the things I try to do if it's a heavy pass day. Like sometimes quarterback guys will do 2 periods of Skelly, and then all of a sudden decide it's a good period to throw shots. So, I mean, just manage your practice. So what I try to do is I try to put the shot period as your script. Maybe it's a run period, shot period, run period. So it's not skelly, shot period, you know. So trying to do a good job of taking care of these guys' legs. One of the things that I learned quick is that if you start these guys right up underneath this chute, if the chute's like right up underneath, as soon as they come out, they'll still stand straight up. So put them a yard and a half behind it to where they're really trying to, and you want to talk about, hey, whatever level you come out of that chute, you should stay the same level in your route. It shouldn't be up here and then popping down. It shouldn't be freaking all the way down here and then popping up. It should be a good tempo and a good pad level throughout your route. So you can do a 90-degree cut here. Again, working on shifting your weight. And we teach a cheat step. I'll get to this hopefully. I teach a cheat step at the top part of this route. If I'm running a 90-degree cut, I don't want to have my foot planted directly like this. I want to go ahead and have my foot. Nobody can't really see. I want to have my foot just off the straight line. So now it's a little bit easier. Whether I'm running a dig right here, now I can flip my hips and open up, or whether I'm running a curl, I can cheat step it, and now my hips are popping up and just a little bit quicker. So a cheat step, you know, whatever the term is, that's what we call it at the top of this route. So when you get to the top of this route right here, again, it's really kind of, this one's almost hard for, especially for tall guys, man, is to really do a good job of sinking my hips and getting my daggum weight down at the top part of this thing and transitioning through the route with my eyes up. You want to do a good job of trying to throw this thing when they come out of it, all right, before they come out of it, throw it where they lose it, they find it, all right, and then they get a contact from the GA. Hopefully my GA does a better job of this. This kid right here is 6'5½". So again, he's got to do a really good job, man, of transitioning at the top part of that route. Get out of it. He's a little bit taller than the dummy, so he don't really do a good job of losing it. This is the freshman right here. All right, Mike can do a better job of not dipping his head, but sinking his hips, transitioning to the top part of the route, lose it out of the top part of it, catch it, and take a contact. Love this drill. Another 6'6" kid right here, big, tall kid. All right, former basketball player, man. So these things right here have helped him tremendously. All right, being able to sink his hips, transition through the top part of his route. Here's another example of it here. We'll see if J-Red can do a better job at the top of this thing. Hey, coach, listen, man, you're doing a great job on that distraction and contact. We were putting this thing together. My GA and I, we're sitting there, man, I love this drill, But one of the things we can do a better job of at the top of this thing is when I get to the top of it, man, let's work on striping it. So now I can get a stance to the start, I can get a 90-degree cut, I can get a striper drill, and a distraction and contact, all in the same drill. Take this one out, take this chute out, put a dummy there, get a release. Whatever the case may be, man. I mean, there was one time, man, I had about 6 different drills in one, and Coach Morris was like, dude, I've seen a monkey crap fight at the zoo better than that. But man, it's just trying to freaking do as many things as we can at the top part of these routes to help with the stripe it, coming off the football, and route running. See, Dion gets everything outside the framework. So he's trying to plant off that outside leg, and everything's outside his framework, man. Everything needs to stay inside the framework. Distraction and contact. I put this on here, man. It seems really simple. Okay, it seems really, really simple. I used to think of the throw-by drill, man, that's one of the easiest drills in the world. Then I went and watched the Cowboys practice. When we were at SMU, man, that was one of the best things in the world. We got free access to go watch every single Cowboys practice if we wanted to. I was watching Coach Dooley teach the receivers, and one of the things he taught was, hey, Coach, can I borrow you for a second? If I'm running a route on Coach, all right, if I'm running a route on Coach and I get to the top part of this route, put your arm up here, and Coach's arm is up here, well, I'm trying to grab his elbow. All right, I was always just, even if his arm was up here, I was trying to grab his hip and trying to throw him by. Well, he's already got leverage on my pads, so I'm trying to grab his elbow, I'm trying to break his elbow, throw him down the field and come back. Now, if I'm running the route and Coach is down here on my hip, all right, his hand's down here on my hip, now I can either grab the elbow here, but more leverage, better leverage of grabbing his hip here and pulling yourself back through. All right, thank you, Coach. So that's one of the things we do is we'll give them a hand up high. And in our league, you got the tall corners, man, so the majority of the time, if you got shorter receivers, the majority of the time, it's going to be where they're popping that elbow, but giving these guys a feel of what this thing is. So right here, I should be grabbing that elbow, I should be throwing that guy by, and then coming back out of the route. Again, I know it's a really simple drill, man, but hand placement. I never really freaking paid attention to hand placement in this drill. But it's a pretty good coaching point on it. And you'll see, I'm going to show you some examples. This kid right here is Trey Quinn, was at LSU. Led the country in receptions his senior year. I'm telling you, he's a high 4'5", 4'6" kid. Dude can get open. He understands leverage, and he uses his hands in his routes better than any kid I've ever been around. Watch him at the top part of this route. First off, he does a great job using his inside hand there to kind of pull himself past that guy. Right now, if you're running a curl, there ain't no way in the world that thing should get caught. Corners in trail technique, no way that thing should get caught. But watch him finish his hands and pull himself back through and go compete for a 50-50 ball. It's an unbelievable job. Unbelievable job at the top part of this route. Watch his hands. So right now he's like, oh man, I got to do a hell of a job on this elbow. Get that elbow, great job. Bam. Now I'm not just hitting that elbow, but now as I come back through, I'm finishing with my inside hand, all right, and coming back and attacking the football. So he goes right now from covered. Now I'm winning a 50-50 catch. Here he is again at the top part of another one. I think this is the top part of a dig. I'd love for him to just go ahead and I'll go to this end zone. I tell my guy, hey, once you stand in that far, man, you're gonna have to live with it. And I'd really like to see him get back vertical on him now, but he does an unbelievable job again. I mean, it's just muscle memory, man. Muscle memory. Hit that elbow, boom, pop that elbow by, finish with the inside hand. All right, then come back and do it again. Boom, boom. It's two. You can almost hear him every single time he hit those DBs. It'd be and then he get right back inside. And did a great job of coaching him how to catch that football too. Here's the big kid right here, Cortland Sutton. You can see right here on the top part of this throw by. He's a bigger kid, 6'4" kid, so a lot of times he had a lot more where he was trying to pop the hip. All right, but he's running a corner route, gets to the top part of that route. Feels like that guy, it feels like he's got better leverage of trying to grab that shoulder pad of where that guy's arm is right there. All right. Do a good job, man, of throwing that guy by and going and making a catch. Locked up here. Froze up. I got a little less than 5 minutes left, so I guess real quick I can ask: does anybody have any questions or anything?
I got a question.
Yep.
Have you ever been called for interference on one of the
We have down in the red zone. We teach the back shoulder, but my guys are running a route. They're not trying to slow down or anything. They're running a fade, trying to win. And then if the quarterback throws it, then we try to adjust quick. Coach Morris says just make them call it. As far as a curl and all that stuff, no. In our league, man, it's daggum prison rules out there. So. Yeah. It depends, Coach. We got called for it 3 times this year. Daggum, who was it ran it the other night? Somebody ran it in the NFL, and it was a touchdown. Nobody threw a flag. We got called for it 3 times this year for picks. What we try to teach is whoever's setting that pick, Coach, if we call ours switch and snap. So if I'm running an out, if we're in 2x2, we're in a 2x. I wish I had a dry erase board. If we're in 2x2, Coach, we call if this guy's running in to set the pick, and this guy's just kind of running an out route, we call that snap, our inside snap concept. And what we're trying to teach that guy, Coach, is just as the outside guy, I'm just jabbing, I'm trying to run through the outside shoulder of that guy. All right, and once I get through the outside shoulder, I want to keep going vertical. All right, I don't want to sit, I don't want to stop. Obviously in the red zone, we have some plays where he kind of goes in, like the sprint out 3x1. I think everybody runs it where you got a corner, a snag, and a flat. I'm sure everybody runs that. We teach our guy that when I get here, I want to sit on his outside hip, and now it's hat and hands working back out with the quarterback. So we got called on the one, we got called against Mississippi State where our guy ran through. I'm talking about he almost literally ran through, and he's trying to get back vertical and get to the hash pylon, and we got called for the pick. So we teach him right through the outside shoulder. If we do it from the inside, running through the outside guy, then he's running through the inside shoulder of the corner, and the same thing, trying to look and get back vertical. If it is where you have one where you sit per se, then we teach hat and hands to the quarterback. Try to throw hat and hands, and obviously don't get into him, but sit about a half a yard away from him and go hat and hands. We try to work it with scout team DBs all the time. We might get thrown out in our offense because we got called for it 3 times. So I think Coach Morris is done with it.